You're listening to the Better for America podcast, presented by AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Weber, and this is your AMAC podcast, Better for America. We have got a very special show for you today. As an organization that's comprised of age 50-plus Americans who passionately support the sanctity of life from conception to natural death, we are grateful to see the courageous efforts made by Lila Rose, president and founder of Live Action. And today we will hear from Lila Rose. She formed Live Action in 2003. She was only 15 years old. And she came up with this idea in her family's living room with the goal to expose what abortion does to the preborn child. Lila worked with friends to make pro-life presentations to groups and to shine a light on the reality of abortion. She started her undercover investigations in 2006 while at UCLA. She was only 18 years old at the time. In 2008, Live Action was legally formed as a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. Later that year, with a few of her friends, Lila created and produced the first nationally televised undercover investigation of the abortion industry. Live Action exists today to shift public opinion on the killing of preborn children and to defend the rights of these most vulnerable among us. Through compelling educational media, human interest storytelling, and investigative reporting, Live Action reveals the humanity of the preborn and exposes the abortion industry. They are exploiting women for profit. I want to thank our members for standing with AMAC as we support the sanctity of life from conception to natural death. For more information on AMAC's stance on the issues, you can visit our website at amac.us. And if you have not yet downloaded the AMAC News app, click on the link below, or we'll put it up here in our bio if you're seeing this on social media. It's free, it's easy, it's convenient, there are no ads, just good old-fashioned news on the facts and the truth. So click that link, download the news app on your smartphone, and get the news on the go by setting up text notifications. The AMAC News app is available, so tell your friends and family and download the app today. I'll be right back with Lila Rose. With us now is Lila Rose, president and founder of Live Action. Lila formed Live Action to shift public opinion on the killing of preborn children and to defend the rights of these most vulnerable among us. With the largest and most engaged online following in the pro-life movement, Live Action is leading the transformation to end this grave human rights abuse, abortion. In July of 2019, Lila Rose addressed the White House Social Media Summit alongside President Donald Trump. Lila has received multiple awards and recognition, and in 2013, she was named to the National Journal List 25 most influential Washington women under 35. Lila also wrote a book, and I'm going to talk to her a little bit about her book and where you can find her book. It released on May 4th, and it's titled Fighting for Life, Becoming a Force for Change in a Wounded World. This is a powerful guide to activism and action. Lila, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
It really is. I want to start out by asking you, what compelled you to get involved at such a young age? I mentioned earlier that you were about 15 years old when it came upon you to do something. And did your faith motivate you? Can you share with us what motivated you to form ultimately liveaction.org?
Sure, of course. So I share in the book that anybody who sees a cause worth fighting for or feels a sense of a calling, often it is heartbreak, our hearts being broken over an injustice or somebody that's being hurt that can inspire us to action. And I talk about how important that is actually to let our hearts be hurt and wounded and even angry over injustice. And so as a young girl, I was raised in a big Christian family. I'm one of 8 kids from San Jose, California. And so, there were ultrasound images of my siblings on the refrigerator growing up, and life was just seen as this beautiful gift. And then as I got a little older, I would learn about abortion. And I had heard about pro-life in general because my grandma volunteered at the local pregnancy center, which so many amazing people, even listening, you might be part of that amazing work, or people who are. It's so beautiful. But for me, I had this heartbroken moment about abortion when I came across a book in my parents' house called A Handbook on Abortion, and it had this insert with photographs in it. And I saw for the first time an image of a child who was 10 weeks old in the first trimester, so preborn, who had been with these arms, legs, you could see this beautiful, newly formed little face, who had been torn apart by a powerful first trimester suction abortion. This is the most prevalent abortion in America. And I was just heartbroken by this. I thought, how could we do this to a baby? I wanted to learn more. I mean, it was so obvious the humanity of that baby. And the more that I started to learn, I was just dumbfounded. I mean, 3,000 abortions a day legally in America. It's the leading cause of death to this day, greater than any other bloodshed. And I just thought, this is something I have to care about. I do care. And so as I learned more about other causes and started to get more interested as I got older into my teen years, I came across Mother Teresa, who some of you may already know about. She's very well known, but she called abortion the greatest destroyer of peace. Not poverty, not racism, not sexism, not inequalities, not famine. She called abortion the greatest destroyer of peace. Mm. And when I read those words, I just thought, this is it. This is the cause. Legalized killing against our children in the name of women. I have to do something. And so that inspired me. That heartbreak and that moral clarity that Mother Teresa gave me at a young age gave me the courage to start Live Action.
Thank you for sharing that. And what's so serendipitous, I guess, is the fact that my grandmother, too, volunteered at a pregnancy center. Aww. And at a very young age. My grandmother, probably 12 or 13, my grandmother showed me the same or similar book with those images of truckloads, really, of these baby parts and babies. And it shook me. And I think it's so good that we're having this conversation, because my prayer, my hope is that the people who are listening, any of those grandmothers out there that might be listening, or grandfathers, mothers and fathers, aunts and uncles, this is the time to talk to your young children. And I don't know if there's a right age or a good age to have the conversation, but I know with my daughter, it was very natural for me to have those conversations with her as she was growing and entering into adolescence, because the most foundational human right is the right to life. And the media, the politicians, the abortion industry, and other powerful institutions have brainwashed women in this country to embrace abortion. For example, and this broke my heart, I read about a pro-choice group that created candles with the phrase, "Abortions are magical." That makes me want to cry. I highly doubt that women are getting abortions because they believe that abortions are magical. That cannot be their reality. They're getting an abortion because they have to feed their kids, or they already have another child, or they're afraid, or they're thinking or wondering if their man is going to leave them, or they're worried about the pressure of other people and finances and living. But we really should talk facts, Lila. My next question is, one of the greatest lies, in my opinion, is the notion that preborn babies aren't human beings. So can we start with that very broad question? What proof do we really have that preborn children are human beings for those pro-life folks that need to stand for what they believe in and speak truth? What might be a good answer when someone says they're not human?
Well, the science is crystal clear on this matter. You pick up any biology book, human biology book, and any embryologist will tell you that human life begins the moment a female gamete, her egg is fertilized by a male gamete. These are reproductive cells, basically from the male and female, to create the sperm fertilizes the egg to create a single unique individual, single cell embryo, which is a new human life. I mean, it's not a matter of opinion or belief or religious conviction.
Right.
It's a matter of science when human life begins. So the question is, well, when does human value begin? When do human rights begin? And I would argue they begin when the human life begins. You don't get to assign rights at birth. It's not like if you're little or small or undeveloped, you have less rights. I mean, we don't give less rights to children and less value to a child than to an adult just because they're less developed. So your development, your location, your dependency as a human being do not change your value or your innate dignity. So that child in the womb is absolutely a human being, has human parents. There's no doubt about it. Is totally unique individual DNA code. No, nothing like he or she has ever existed on Earth. From the moment of fertilization, the eye color, the sex, the thousands of genetic traits are already decided. Just needs time and nourishment to grow that life. And that's not up for debate. That's a fact. And so really the question here is not, is it a human, but is it okay to dehumanize that child, that son or daughter of parents? Is it okay to kill, to murder them? And if you believe in human rights, if you believe in the right to life, to not be killed, you can't get to assign that to one group of humans and deny it to another. It's for all humans. That's what a human right is. It's a universal right that we all have because we are humans. And a child in the womb is a human. You talked about the power of abortion images. And as a child, your grandmother showed you them. She worked at the pregnancy center,
Yes.
and that's so powerful. And I think about our society. I mean, look at the last year, the millions of people outraged over police brutality when we watched George Floyd die on camera, on an iPhone camera under the knee of a police officer, and how that outraged so many people. It's because we shared together the witness of seeing someone die. We watched someone die together, and it broke our hearts and made us angry. There's no video that's viral right now that the media is reporting on of watching these children in the womb die. And yet 2,363 of them are killed each day legally, and there's silence on it. And so I think that's the power of rehumanizing these children. They are human. Every abortion stops a beating heart. That 3.5 weeks, the heart is already beating. By 6 weeks, brain waves can already be detected. Most of the children who are killed, you can see the arms, the legs, the face of this human life. And I think if America had to see it regularly, if these were iPhone videos on social media, if this was something that we actually witnessed, this brutality against these lives and the trauma to women, the devastation to fathers and mothers, we would, we'd finish it in a day. We'd say, we can't accept this anymore. And that's what Live Action does. That's what my goal of my book, Fighting for Life, is to rehumanize the child. Say it's not better for women to kill our children. It's against our dignity too. And to say together we have to fight for their lives.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think that that's important for us to remember, and really good for people to listen to what you've said over and over again, because more people need to speak out. People will say there are hard cases, Lila. Some people might ask, well, what about rape? What if a woman's life is in danger? What if there's a poor diagnosis, prenatal diagnosis? Right. Are there any good exceptions that justify abortion? And it is a good question. It's a hard question. How do you confront those people that say, what about the hard cases?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're so accustomed to abortion and accepting it in our society that we consider these hard cases where it should be okay. And instead of looking at it from the perspective of, if this is a human life, if this is a child, does anything justify intentionally ending their life, intentionally killing them? And so let's run through a couple of those hard cases. You mentioned, for example, rape or incest. And these are horrific cases. And, that's part of the horror of rape, is that you're violating a woman's body, and you also have the power to create new life. And this is an act of violence when life should be created in love and commitment instead of violence and cruelty and abuse. But if that child is conceived, first of all, how do we achieve healing for that mother, that trauma that she's been through, that abuse? does abortion take away the trauma of the rape? Would aborting that baby somehow heal her from the abuse she endured? No, it's not going to heal her. It's going to add a new trauma, another wrong that was done to the first wrong. And in the United States, we don't even give the death penalty to rapists. I mean, it's against federal law to convict a rapist and assign them the death penalty. Why would we give the death penalty to a child who is the victim, another victim of being conceived in rape? Why would we kill them? And so in that situation, we got to look at it holistically and also consider that we're not serving victims by telling them have an abortion. Just have an abortion. That'll help you move on. That doesn't help her move on. That only commits another wrong after the first wrong. Yeah. And then another, case people bring up, is, what if the child has a disability or is very sick and is going to have a bad life? And I would just ask that person, would you say that to the parents or the caretakers of a 1-year-old with a disability or somebody in poverty who is a newborn or a toddler? Would you say it's better to die? It's better that we kill you. We euthanize you. It can be painless. I mean, they don't do painkillers for preborn children. They feel excruciating every bit. But let's just say theoretically, you're a toddler and you're poor, or you're a toddler and you have a life-threatening injury, or you're a toddler, you have a disease or a disability. It's better you're dead. Mm. And I think that is cruel and wrong. It's not our place to take life. It's not our place to play God. And who are we to say that child can't still live their life? Who are we to say that their quality of life doesn't count? It's not for us to decide. That child has a right to live. So I think no matter how you look at it, nothing justifies intentionally taking an innocent human life, which is what every abortion does.
Sure. I want to say your website is fantastic. And for anybody listening who needs to sort of arm themselves with the truth, I would encourage people to go to liveaction.org. I really enjoyed, it's such a sad, terrible topic to think about and talk about, but we must, as a nation, I believe that we must. And I feel that you lay things out and you really give clarity, and the information is so well done that I do think that even parents might want to share some of what you have there with their growing, their adolescent or teen children, for example. Now, Lila, you know that some people argue, they say there's always going to be a woman somewhere who will choose abortion. It's her body. It's legal in America. So, right. Or if it's illegal, women won't be safe. This is an argument that I hear. So in other words, folks are saying if we make abortion illegal, that what we're doing is we're harming women, and that women are going to just die. Thousands of women will die every day from illegal abortion. How should folks understand? Because I believe that that's another myth. It's a lie. It's another way in which folks that are pro-abortion are trying to convince other people that those statistics are out there. But how do you respond?
It's a great question. And I talk a lot in my book, Fighting for Life, about the sort of justifications or rationalizations for evil, and how we can talk ourselves into accepting something that is morally wrong, a violation of human rights because of X, Y, or Z. And this is a myth, like you say, because a woman, first of all, to say that abortion will happen even if it's illegal, it's like saying, well, rape will still happen even if it's illegal. Murder will still happen even if it's illegal. Child abuse still happens even though it's illegal. And we don't make something illegal. We don't call something a violation of human rights only if we can somehow eradicate every violation. If we did, we would never make any law, because there will always be some laws that are broken. That's the human condition. I think the solution is, first of all, to look up the facts. After abortion became legal in this country, the abortion rate skyrocketed. Far less women had abortions before it was legal, because the reality is many women seek out abortion because it seems like a quick escape from a momentary, temporary problems that they face. And so they enter this lifetime of regret with a quick fix in the moment where they feel momentary relief. If abortion wasn't so accessible, the left talks about abortion access and how that will help more women have abortions.
Right.
If it wasn't so accessible, less women would have abortions. And this is not my opinion. This is fact, based on countries that have made it illegal or have restricted access. Less women have abortions, period. They're just like, I'm not going to endanger myself. I'm not going to go through all of this trouble and potentially break the law. It's not worth it. That being said, what should we focus on as a society besides legal protection for the preborn? We should focus on supporting those women. Why are women having so many abortions? Because we're promoting it. It's
right.
taxpayer funded in many states. It's taxpayer funded in California. You can go and get a free abortion and you're done. I mean, that's it. And they say, oh, this is the right thing for you because you're low income or because you're a student or because you're a single mom. We need to change the way we talk about pregnancy and motherhood and children. That is the real solution beyond, of course, making sure the laws protect life.
Every week, Lila, you put out some compelling videos and engaging social media posts. I follow you on social media. And so I want to remind folks that Live Action gives millions of Americans information and exposes the horrific human rights abuses committed by the abortion industry. Now, in the United States, there is no federal law protecting preborn children, as we've been discussing. But I want to share a video with folks that are watching. We're going to run this video.
Well, in my heart and my mind, life begins when the mother thinks it begins, not when anybody else thinks it begins. For some women, it's before they conceive. For some women, it's never. Even after they deliver, it's still a problem, not a baby.
At this point, does it have all of its organs and all of that stuff? Is it already fully
It's not
developed?
fully developed.
Okay.
It doesn't even look like a baby yet.
It doesn't?
Technically, it has its organs. It has parts, like we all have parts, but it's not done.
So, does it have a face or all of that stuff? Or?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's developing into.
Right.
all this
Okay.
stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want you to torture yourself.
You're 27 weeks. You're in about 6 months into the pregnancy.
Is it a baby?
Well, what do you consider a baby? It's definitely a fetus. Medical definition of a baby, I think, is technically until it's born. Until then, when it's in gestation, it's considered a fetus. So it depends what the term baby means to you. And how you perceive it.
And then step 2 is that we do the injection, which is a quick poke through your belly, and that stops the fetal heart, so that makes it so if you were to deliver, there shouldn't be movement, there shouldn't be any of those things.
Okay. So it's almost like we're guaranteed we're okay.
We induce a demise, an intrauterine demise.
What does demise mean?
Death. We use a combination of suction and then real instruments to literally go in and grab and pull pieces out.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe that's a little more graphic than I usually describe it.
And to insert the injection, it's going straight into the sac and to the pregnancy. Okay, it's bottom down. It'll insert through the baby's bottom. Okay. If it's the head down, it'll be inserted through the head, through the cranium.
Does it feel that?
I'm not sure. That'd be a good. I don't believe so. I don't know if it's developed enough to feel that.
Okay.
It might be. Okay. Does that idea bother you?
A little bit, I guess. What about you?
Well, I feel that it's necessary for the procedure to happen and ultimately safest and kind of the most kind of humane way to do it,
And then it's just, like any shot, like a flu shot or a vaccine, really.
Just like a flu shot or vaccine?
Yeah, and it's not like you and I, where when we get a flu shot, we're kind of, ooh, not that experience of anxiety and suffering it's not capable of.
Okay.
And so that, I think, helps us all to feel more comfortable with this.
Yeah, to know that it's not like,
not a thinking being in the same way that you and I are. Right?
Okay.
It takes a lot of life to get to be worried about stuff the way that we worry about stuff, right?
So, Lila, the reason why that video breaks my heart is because I see this as an attack on women when I hear a doctor or a counselor telling women that their baby, their 22-week-old baby, is not a baby. It's the spreading of lies and mistruths, and it is the dehumanization of the preborn. And it's really just this terrible attack on life itself. So we know that abortion is the onslaught of lies, and it undermines women. I've always said that, and I've had this argument with my family members, with my friends. If we think that these misinformed moms are dealing, they're okay with the traumatic stress of abortion, the knowing that it was a decision made by them, and now they have to live with all kinds of difficult emotions. I think if we just pause for a moment and recognize, as you've said, the attack on women, we would say so much needs to be done. I see it as just a total disrespect against women. It disregards the life of the baby. And what so many people are forgetting is that the abortion industry is a money-making, profitable business. And if people understood that, they would see maybe the motive. What should people know about the lies that are told by those who work in the abortion industry, such as Planned Parenthood? People need to know the lies.
It's a great question. And Live Action spent years investigating the abortion industry. I've spent years exposing what's actually happening in these facilities and the agendas that are at play here. And first of all, keep in mind, every time Planned Parenthood sells an abortion, they make money. They make money off of the deaths of children. Pregnancy centers, pro-life centers, they don't make money off of saving lives. They spend money to save lives. So right there, you see the economic makeup of the fight. I mean, we're spending money to save life. The abortion industry is getting money to take life. And you look at their marketing schemes. I mean, they say, well, birth control will save lives. 50% and they give it out, 50% of the women who have an abortion were using birth control the month they conceived. This is Planned Parenthood's own statistic. They know that by encouraging sexual libertinism, as long as there's consent and you enjoy it, just have sex with whenever, it doesn't matter. They know that abortion will result as a consequence, period. And that's how they are building their empire, by encouraging a behavior in especially younger people that is reckless, that is harmful, that's against their own dignity. And so to tell a mother of a child, a preborn, brand new life, that she should kill her child, that's the way to get forward in life. That's a lie at its heart. You don't move forward by trampling on your family members. You might feel a short-term relief, and many women say, "Oh, I feel relieved. I'm not pregnant anymore. It's not like I have this thing and this burden I'm carrying." But years later, as their circumstances change, they never forget that was a life. They cry when the due date would have been. They cry on the anniversary of the abortion. They have nightmares. I mean, post-traumatic stress disorder after abortion is real. And there's also physical harm, infertility that can result, and hemorrhage and other harm to women. Even breast cancer is linked to abortion. So we don't talk about this very much. Women aren't in the pro-abortion side doesn't admit the harm to women. But the biggest thing is moral harm, because listen, we are not, we want to be just, we want to be good. We want to be good people. And I think our society talks about a morality, it's a lot of talk about justice and racial justice and equality. Who are we? If as adults we kill our children, who are we? What does that make us out to be, to sacrifice our kids? And so I say, listen, women, we are better than this. Stop buying the lie. Let's band together and help each other. And there are thousands of pregnancy centers, like we talked about earlier, that want to help women. The resources do exist. You might have to find them to connect with them. You might not know them in the moment, but we will find them for you. We will help. And I'll send you the link. You can include it in the podcast description so that families have this. You may already have it, of the hotline. There's hotlines you can call if you're pregnant and you need resources. We have those for you. Don't kill your child as a solution to temporary problems. You can overcome. There is a beautiful future for you. So that ultimately needs to be the message for women.
You know, when we mentioned your grandmother earlier, when my grandmother, she's no longer here with us on earth. She's passed now a handful of years ago, but she lived to about 94, 95. She lived to 95. We had a 95th birthday party for her, of course. I think she was 96. Awesome. Yeah. She saved lives,
Beautiful.
Lila. She saved lives. And all of the women that were considering abortion, I mean, she just was loving and kind, and she showed them the sonogram. And those women came back to her and said, "Thank you, Marge. Thank you." She was an angel here on earth, and she reminded me of Mother Teresa. She had her stature, in a sense, and the kindness and that twinkle in her eyes. So I do think that it's good for people to look for resources. You're not alone. There are so many people that want to help you, that want to guide you, that want to uplift you. So it's important to know that, you know. What really breaks my heart, and this gets me, I can cry every time I think about it, is the fact that we know, because science tells us, so we know that all links necessary for pain transmission, pain receptors, nerve tracts, spinal cord, they're all in place at about 18 weeks. Why do abortion providers outright lie to their customers about the truth of abortion? They do not explain that this child will feel the pain. I'm sorry to ask such open-ended questions here, but it boggles the mind that these
they're
folks
profiting.
are lying.
Yeah. They're profiting. And like I said earlier, the abortion industry makes money on abortion. Planned Parenthood is the industry leader. They commit 41% of abortions, almost 1,000 children killed a day at Planned Parenthood facilities. They get taxpayer dollars. They get $500 million from taxpayers every single year, and they make 500 to thousands on every abortion. They don't make any money if the woman chooses life. So it's a clear financial incentive. That's what they're designed to do. Their ultrasound machines at Planned Parenthood, they don't ever use them for prenatal care. They're used to do search and destroy missions for babies during abortion appointments. So this is what they're designed for. And you know what you were saying about your grandma, it's so beautiful. She sounds like an amazing person. I have the same love for my grandma. And you know, if you're listening and you're a grandparent, or you're going to be a grandparent soon, or you have grandchildren, or even your daughters, we all have a role to play in this fight. And this is not just a fight for you or for me. And this is a fight for every single one of us. We all have a different role to play. And if you're listening, you probably already maybe are involved in the pro-life movement, but I want to encourage you that there's a specific role for you. That's one of the reasons I wrote Fighting for Life, because I wanted to provide a guidebook to inspire anybody, no matter your age, for how you can get involved in the pro-life fight, how you can be a champion for change, no matter your challenges or your struggles or your insecurities. We all have them. And I talk about mine in the book, but I just hope that this can be an inspiration for you and for, you know, maybe your loved ones, if you have young daughters or, you know, granddaughters, to inspire them that there is a path for change that we can blaze together. And part of that is seeing the truth, getting activated, and having the courage, finding that courage and inspiration, even in the middle of the challenges, which there are many. You know, our culture can be very hostile, but there is so much beautiful work and beautiful lives to be saved if we're willing to step up and fight.
That is great. And if it stirs in your soul, you know, if you feel it, if you feel that nagging pull, the tug at your heart, that means you got to do something. And so I like to remind people that listen to that quiet voice, because there's so much that one person can do. One person can make a difference in the life of another woman who perhaps maybe she changes her mind because of the words that you brought to her. Another topic I want to bring up relating to abortion is that there are so many defenders of legal abortion that refuse to acknowledge the fact that it's not privileged white women who are most often exercising their right to abortion. Defenders of abortion say that a woman's right to abortion is reproductive justice or reproductive freedom. But this language doesn't trickle down to the women having an abortion. It's really the elite privileged women who push that message. And I want people to hear that. It's the elite privileged women that are pushing a message that abortion is health care. They're saying that it's good health care. You're getting care from an organization whose values devalue their lives and dehumanize the unborn. That only the planned have the right to live. So what are some of the physical and emotional harms suffered by women who have an abortion? You mentioned them earlier, and I had this question teed up because if you can, I know that you've spoken to many people, and people have shared with you their stories. What are some of the physical and emotional harms?
Well, I have been privileged to talk to hundreds of women over the years who share, often in tears, about an abortion maybe decades ago. And no one really talks about this, but it needs to be talked about, how much woundedness and hurt there is for so many women. And I think it's important to remember, as pro-life advocates, we are not here to condemn. We're here to help set free, because we have been given the truth, so we can be free, but we want to help others. And so many women, they're lost, or they're locked in their grief, or they don't share it with anyone, or they're not even admitting it to themselves. So we have a website called abortionprocedures.com, which is a key step to seeing the truth. But there's a whole help page for women who've had abortions, for resources for them, because there is healing and there is opportunity for help. Some of the harm to women besides post-abortion stress disorder, these are emotional harms. Some statistics or studies have said that a woman is 50 to 100% more likely to commit suicide the year after her abortion. That's how traumatic it is. That there's addiction that can result, and other mental health disorders as a result of the trauma and the decision that she made. The physical harm can be great. It can even lead to death. Abortion does still kill women to this day. Abortion was recently legalized in Argentina. One of the lead abortion activists there, a young woman, went to go get her legal and safe abortion, and she died. Both her and her baby. Here in the United States, women are dying. Often it's not even reported. Hemorrhaging infection can be consequences of abortion. Infertility and breast cancer can be consequences of abortion. We detail a lot of this at abortionprocedures.com, but it's a myth to say it's safe for women. It's never safe for children, but it's also not safe for women either emotionally, spiritually, or physically.
And there has been an illiterate argument. This is some more lies and myths, that the pro-life movement is rooted, right? The pro-life movement is rooted in white supremacy. But the truth is quite the opposite. White supremacists have long supported legal abortion because they recognize and applaud that non-white women are disproportionately more likely to obtain abortions than are white women. So Black lives don't matter at Planned Parenthood. I'd like to share another live action undercover video.
Good afternoon, this is Autumn.
Hello, Autumn. I'm interested in making a donation today.
Fantastic.
What about abortions for the underprivileged minority groups? I want to specify that abortion to help a minority group. Would that be possible? Like the Black community, for example?
Certainly.
Okay. So the abortion could be, I could give money specifically for a Black baby. That'd be the purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. If you wanted to designate that you wanted your gift to be used to help an African American woman in need, then we would certainly make sure that gift was earmarked specifically for that purpose.
Great, because I really face trouble with affirmative action, and I don't want my kids being disadvantaged, against Black kids. I just had a baby. I want to put it in his name, so that's definitely possible.
Oh, always.
And we just think, the less Black kids out there, the better.
Understandable. All right. Excuse my hesitation. This is the first time I've had a donor call and make this kind of request, so I'm excited, and I want to make sure I don't leave anything out.
Lila, can you share with us the facts by the numbers, if you have the numbers or know the numbers? Who is the most vulnerable to death by abortion?
Mm-hmm. Well, the children that are most disproportionately affected by abortion, so killed by abortion, are Black children in this country. The abortion rate for a Black child, for Black women, is 3 to 5 times higher than it is for white women. The abortion rate for Hispanic women is also higher than white women, but lower than Blacks. So the most targeted group in the womb today of any group are Black children. And this is why Dr. Alveda King, the niece of Martin Luther King Jr., calls this Black genocide, what the abortion industry is doing to kill Black babies. The most dangerous place for a Black person today is in their mother's womb. And that's because of abortionists. And we need to talk about this. I mean, if there's racial systemic injustice in this country, systemic racism, it starts in the womb. And Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, this was her design. I mean, she was a eugenicist, an elitist, ultimately a racist, and she wanted to use birth control when she started Planned Parenthood. Then later on, it became abortion to target minority populations and control and limit them. So this is one of the many aspects of the injustice of abortion, and one of the many reasons we have to fight to stop it.
Since 1973, America has lost over 60 million babies. Lila, thank you so much for saving lives, for supporting legislative efforts to protect preborn children, and for inspiring millions of people to educate their communities with the truth about abortion. I want to mention your book. I don't know if you have a copy behind you. Folks can see that, Fighting for Life. That's a great book. Show it to everybody, for anybody who's watching. And how can folks get that book? Is it available on Amazon?
Thank you. Yeah. So Fighting for Life is available wherever you get your books, Amazon.com. If you don't like Amazon, you can do an independent bookseller or Barnes & Noble, wherever you buy your books. And I designed it for any age. So if you are a grandparent, an elder, I hope will love it and be inspired. It's also a guidebook or an activist manual, a how-to for anyone. So if you have like a young person in your life, a daughter, granddaughter, this is, I hope, going to inspire them. So check it out, and I hope everybody enjoys.
Lila Rose, on behalf of AMAC's 2.3 million members, we want to thank you for your courageous work and for standing up for the unborn. And for all of you listening here with us today, this is AMAC's podcast, Better for America, and we look forward to having you back with us again next time.
Thank you for listening to the Better for America podcast. To learn more about AMAC and all it has to offer, visit us at www.amac.us.